do I get a tattoo or piercing that I'm not going to regret? Some reasons.
Things to do. Okay, yeah. First, groups can always be dangerous. So if you're out with a group and someone suggests tattoos, it's gonna sound like a fucking awesome idea. But so many times I have people sitting in the chair and we're talking tattoos, of course, and where'd you get this one? How did that one happen? And a lot of people end up regretting those seemed like a good idea at the time.
Group things,
deals.
Yes. Usually a couple of drinks or something is involved or something.
Yeah, or it's so
a high level of excitement for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think maybe that leads into just prep time in your mind to really go through. Okay, is this really what I want? Is this just give you and that depends on how seriously you take tattoos. Like some people, it's a very fucking serious thing. Dude, that's going to last forever. Like, no, it's not. You're going to die. Yeah. And then it's going to be gone. It's very unpermanent. It's one of the very less permanent forms of artwork there are. Painting, how long does that last? A marble statue, how long does that last? Sandcastles and tattoos are about the most unpermanent thing in the world, as far as artwork is concerned. But some people don't see it that way.
Yeah.
So some people don't really need the prep time. They can laugh at themselves. Even if they do regret the tattoo, they have fun with the regret.
Yeah.
Some people, it destroys their life. They can't go to sleep at night and, all that stuff. So depending on where you fall into there, be careful about just split decision tattoos or souvenir tattoos. Because those a lot of times are done by the person knowing you're getting a souvenir tattoo and knows that if something goes wrong or they overwork your skin or you need a touch-up, you ain't going to be around anyway.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get top-notch work generally. I'm not saying it doesn't happen because you can get a beautiful tattoo in another, whatever. But it's just something to look out for. Right?
And if you're going to like Los Angeles and you want to get a tattoo to mark that journey, do your research beforehand, contact the artist, set up a time, and you can get into some incredible people, especially in larger cities, if you plan it out a couple months in advance.
That's a great idea.
If you're coming to Des Moines, give us a call.
Right.
Let us know what you want. We'll set you up an appointment.
Yeah.
We'll get you hooked up. Same thing with piercing. If you want to get pierced by me, let me know when you're coming into town. I will set aside time to help you.
Yeah.
I've had clients come from all over the world at some point or other. And pierce them, so that's possible.
Yeah. That's a really very good point, and that's a great way to get really good work from other places, not just the group. Oh yeah, let's dive into it. Let's see if we can find a shop that's open. Careful. That usually has regret at the end of the sentence.
Generally, I think you're more likely to regret it the less thought you've put into it prior to it, or give or take. I mean that's not for everybody, obviously. But if you're going to regret a tattoo, it's generally the ones that you didn't spend very long thinking about to begin with.
Yeah.
And those are the short-term ones that you came in, like I said, with friends or a relationship or something like that. Exactly that.
And the same thing with piercings, impulse piercings.
Yeah.
If you're in somebody's kitchen, don't get tattooed or pierced.
Right. This is the only kitchen you should be tattooed in.
If you're at a party and everybody's getting tattooed or pierced, there's a reason that artists. I mean, there are some cases like conventions where there might be some tattooing in the hotel rooms and etc. Usually those are set up in advance, believe it or not.
Yep.
But if you're at a party and there's a random guy sitting there, or gal in the corner who's doing tattoos on people and piercing people for really cheap, no. Move along. They don't probably have access to things like sterile equipment. They probably don't have access to the knowledge that it takes to do whatever you want correctly. And they're probably self-taught. Yeah,
which sometimes works out and sometimes it don't. But you're better off, putting a little more effort into yourself than that. Because you've got the choice whether you sit down in that chair or not. So, if you're going to regret something, that's your fault. I mean, there's going to be guys out there that have just enough access to be dangerous and will take your money.
Oh yeah, they're happy to. That's how they do it. I've known artists that's how they operated. They moved from town to town to town. They would spend 2 weeks in the town. They wouldn't work inside a studio. They'd work in some van or truck. Or
They'd work at usually someone's house, and then that person would go out and get their friends, go, hey, I got this guy coming to my house doing cheap tattoos. And then the house gets a cut of whatever the tattoo guy does. He slams, bams, and then jets out of town. And
kind of like a rent party.
a rent party?
Never heard of those?
Uh-uh.
I guess it kind of went out of vogue.
Oh.
When people couldn't make rent, they would have a band, their friend's band, come in and play, and then they'd charge a couple bucks at the door, or
cool.
a keg or something to help pay for the rent.
That's pretty smart. He's got a lot of them today.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
really
I'm a
dropping
sharp
knowledge.
individual.
It's all this delicious death before decaf coffee. It's got to be doing the trick.
It's super good. We've been drinking a lot of it today.
It's working. This fall as fuck is
Doing its business.
good as fuck.
There's
Check them
links.
out. We'll have links down in the description below the video. So click them, give them a check out. Their website's really cool. They're good.
Yeah,
she does a
local.
really good
It's
roast.
a local lady. She's super awesome. And yeah, she's she'll mail it right to your house, and by drone. It's fucking awesome. I made the drone part up. She does not deliver by
she does a
drone,
drone.
but she should. But she's gonna have to have money to buy the drones, and she can't get money unless she sells the coffee.
So
That's where you come in, the consumers,
So contribute to the world domination plan.
and get heavily caffeinated at the same time.
That's always a good idea.
Yeah.
You got
Okay.
one?
No, I actually.
What
my
what
thoughts
should a
are-
person do so they don't end up regretting their
You know,
tattoo?
one of my thoughts would be to ask your tattoo artist too. But there's a lot of. That's an ever-changing field too. There's a lot of different artists with different opinions on what is a regrettable idea too. So I don't know if that's really your best. I mean, we do get a lot of people who come through our chair and say, "This is what I regret," and we see these issues, and so just by this.
What
video,
would you think's the
ask
number
them.
one thing, though?
This-
Number
Getting
one
it-
thing you guys end up covering up.
But before I lose this thought, getting it too small. I never have a person come in and say, "Man, I got this too big." They always say, "Man, I wish I would have got this bigger. How can we fill in? So listen to your tattoo artist. If they're knowledgeable and they know what they're doing, they've been doing it for a long time.
That's what
Listen to
I'm
what they
looking at.
say. They've got usually they've been spending a lot more time thinking about how artwork looks on the body as a piece of artwork on the body, more than just what that tattoo looks like. So proportioning and stuff on the body is important. If you're only wanting a tattoo so big, but you want it on your back, or right here, there maybe is a better spot for that.
Plus, you can get the larger the design, the more detail you can get into it.
Absolutely.
And some designs need that detail,
Mm-hmm.
or otherwise, after about 20 or 30 years, it looks like you have a quarter on your hand
Yeah.
or on your arm.
Yep, and yeah, that's what when I ask people, I go, well, how much of your skin do you want to dedicate to this idea?
Yeah.
How much of your skin do you want to give this tattoo, basically? How much presence do you want it to have? Is it kind of a memento? This reminds me of my grandma. I don't want it to define me, but it's something I just want to keep as a keepsake for me.
Yeah.
Well, then that probably falls in that beer coaster, smaller type size, and somewhere to be tucked away. I want, I want this, my whole upper arm, blah, blah, blah. So, listening to the artist about how your idea works in a tattoo on the body or works as a tattoo is important, not only with size, but, placement and how it works with the body. So, I hear people complain about that. I wish I would have got it bigger or, something like that. So, I think if you go to a knowledgeable artist who is doing it for a while and, like I said, is in the mindset of placing artwork on a human body, that's what they do, and you're getting a piece of artwork on your human body, listen to them and take into account that knowledge that they have and maybe that way of thinking they have that maybe you hadn't, and take that into account because maybe they know what they're talking about and might save you from being the one that goes, man, I got this too small, or man, I got this right in the middle of my arm and now what the fuck do I do with it, kind of thing, and that might save you some regret.
Names.
Yeah.
Partners' names. I always tell people when they ask me, it's like, get something that symbolizes that person. I have tattoos on myself that symbolize important partners I had when I was younger that I've had my first couple of attachments to. Their names are not on there. No one else is going to know about it. And the thing with names is you may still have, like, you want to look back on that part of your life, and that was a good experience, even though it maybe ended badly. Even ending badly was part of your personal growth. But every single partner you have for the rest of your life is going to hound you to get that changed. They're going to be like, you have that other woman or that other man's name or that other whatever on you, and they are just going to pound that into your head over and over and over again, and you will lose sleep over it. So,
I think DaVo's being a little dramatic because I have my ex-wife's name on my wrist, and I've had it since we were married, and we were married 10 plus years, together for 13, but I haven't been married to her for 10, I think. But anyway, God, I'm old. But when I got it, I didn't get it for her. I didn't get it to prove anything to her. I didn't get it to surprise her. I didn't get it for her at all. I got it for me, and I know that humans don't stay together forever.
Yeah.
And because I was a tattoo artist when I got it, so I'm not an alien to the idea of getting names is bad and all that. But at that point, I had already gone through so much in my life and had such incredible life-defining moments and things with this woman that whether she was with me for the rest of my life or not, she had a spot in my, no matter how long I lived.
That's what I tell people generally.
She's part of your life.
Right. She made a,
so there's the important part.
Was this a 6 months relationship or a 6 year relationship sort of thing? Or a 60-year relationship, longer or whatever?
Well,
the important part is, are you doing it for yourself?
Right.
Or are you doing it for them?
And that's why this, and think about this. Most of the time when someone comes in and gets someone's name, it's either one, it's puppy love. It's that first little flush of, oh my God, they are awesome and they like me back. Woo! And then you start realizing that they're a human and they kind of suck a lot like normal humans and all that stuff. And then you start regretting it. And, or two, you're on the outs with the old lady because you really fucked up and you got to do something to prove that you are in this thing to win it, baby. And you're so sorry and you're never going to do it again. And look, I got your name.
Yeah.
And even if that helps for a minute,
not always.
She was on the way out anyway.
Yeah.
So then the name thing gets a bad rep. Well, I wasn't doing it for that.
Yeah.
We were, I got it for me, and I have had one ex-girlfriend hassle me about it.
Yeah.
But that just shows insecurity to me.
Yeah.
And I've thought about it with myself too, with a woman. If a woman had, John on her wrist or something. Now, if it was kind of the same deal, and she was heavily tattooed, and it just kind of was there, and understood that, especially because I've had some in my life that even though I'm not with them, I still respect them and I know them as a good person. I would totally be fine with it because I'm, secure enough in myself to go, yeah, okay. I'm not going to let that name on there bother me. She obviously is with me. She loves me. I've been in relationships and people have made a big impression on me. That doesn't mean I don't love her. Just the same way she, So it depends on the person, I mean.
But I think we've established it. You got to do it for yourself.
Yes,
for them.
exactly.
And the other thing is you got to be willing to go, okay, when I do meet someone else, if we break up, to be able to explain what has happened and why that person's important to you in a way that doesn't sound negative.
Some people can't take it. Some people just
you got to be ready for that.
Big enough, to accept the idea that, hey, there was somebody before me that she had intense feelings for.
Yeah.
And, of course.
But
she's
you learn
awesome.
a lot.
Of course someone's going to fucking fall in love with this person. You did, So, I don't know.
And the other advantage is it's one more way you can find those red flags earlier. If they're really insecure because you have a tattoo
absolutely. That's
of
a good
girl
point. It's like
or
a
guy that you dated 20 years ago, then there's going to be other problems.
Name tattooed on me then.
Right? Oh, that's a good idea. All right, let's make that a thing.
Regrettable
Get a random girl's name on you just to see how secure the person you're getting with is with themselves. If that bugs them, they're fucking insecure little bitches.
Yep.
If they can't take that someone, that you cared for someone, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's a little fucking weird, man. So that's a good idea.
Yeah,
we should run a random. Okay, here it is. We're running a special, and this is off the top of my head. We'll do $50 names, but we get to pick the name.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And you have to report back every 6 months and be in the dating pool, so that we know whether or not it affects your ability to find. the right
Well,
person.
some check-ins would be nice to let
Yeah.
us know how it's going. I think, we start a little website of the,
Yep.
fake name army or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
funny.
and then they can all check in. And you know what will happen? People will stop being little bitches about people walking around with fucking names on them because they're gonna realize that they're being a little bitch just because someone had an emotional relationship with someone and they have that name on there. I like it. Watch for this.
Right?
Yes.
New trend we're starting.
If we didn't have the ringer off on the phone, it'd be going off right now.
Another one for me is symbols that make sure the symbol represents you.
Yeah.
A lot of people get brand tattoos or band tattoos. Make sure that you are committed enough, that means enough to you, that you're going to deal with the pile of crap everybody else is going to give you for the rest of your life. If you're unsure about that, try to pick something that fits you, your hobbies, your sport. So that, if you have the Nike symbol on the side of your neck or a Lip Biscuit tattoo on your forearm, people don't give you endless piles of crap about it. With piercings, the main thing is like a lot of people have the opinion that it's temporary. It's something they can always remove. The thing they don't think through is that it does cause scarring, and especially with facial piercings and etc. The other thing people don't consider is that they're going to be in a professional workforce, and it's the same thing with tattooing. If you are planning on going into any type of field that is heavily professional and your appearance dictates the amount of salary you're going to make, making sure that you don't have visible tattoos or visible piercings is probably a good idea. There are plenty of other places where you can get tattooed or pierced that are not going to be visible. It's like me. I can put on a suit and take my earrings out, my eyebrow out. The scarring is still going to be there. People are going to still know that I'm pierced. But I can present myself as professional more so than if I had, I don't know,
Skulls.
FTW and skulls. And
What do you mean? What do you mean, Dave? What do you mean?
For the win!
If somebody has skulls on the back of their hands and fuck you on their knuckles, somehow they're unemployable? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that you are in a profession where that's acceptable. But if you if you decided like tomorrow you want to go back to school and become a doctor, you're not going to be able to get a job as a surgeon with tattoos
I was saying that to
hand.
save it in the comments.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And back when I first started tattooing, it was very, very rare that anybody young got anything below their elbows, ever.
They wouldn't even do it.
No, I would question them, and a lot of times they would be like, "Oh yeah, you're right," and shockingly, like that hadn't occurred to them. But now, fuck, man, 18th birthday, sleeve me, no shit, and start at my fingertips.
Yeah, my kid's first tattoo was here.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing. It's nothing for an 18 or 20-year-old to be completely sleeved.
It's partly because the perception of tattooing has changed, but there are still industries and things that you're not going to be able to get into.
Yes.
Because of the tattoo.
Yep. Yes.
Because of the piercing.
And I guess
even if you're walking in with all the jewelry out, if you have a scar on your forehead, they're going to think, oh yeah, they had their eyebrow pierced, or their nose, there's a big bump there, or what have you, or you can easily see the holes in the bottom of their lips. They're going to have a perception, wrong or right, of what type of an individual you are.
Yeah, it gives people,
So, if you're willing to live with that for the rest of your life and you're fine with that, then go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
Because it's for you anyway.
Right.
But you always need to take into account the future to a degree.
Yeah, it can impact the entire trajectory of your life.
Yes.
Literally.
In a positive way, we hope.
Yeah, in a positive way.
Sometimes I generally think getting a hand tattoo or finger tattoos isn't a bad idea, but the rest of the world notices when that's your first idea, when that's your first tattoo. Then that's the opinion they're holding of you. Say, all right, whatever, you got a hand tattoo that came with a full sleeve, awesome, but you started with the hand first, and in that process, you have to deal with a lot of opinions and judgments because of that, because they see your hand was the first thing you started with, and just
Do you mean that in a social
wrong or right, whatever people think? I just think people will see that, and it's not that you have a hand tattoo; it's just the direction you started from.
So you mean like you're talking that a hand is kind of something you earn your way into as you sleeve your arm out? You mean?
That was the way it was taught to
kind
me.
of yes, kind of yes, but I think if you're applying for a job, again, that's something they'll notice. They
That's true. If you come in and you have a full back of your hand tattooed and you really don't have any other tattoos, maybe one other small one, you're like, man, why did you fucking blast that right in the middle of your hand?
Exactly.
You know?
They don't think of you as a person that cares about your presentation as a first high priority.
That's, it's funny because they're ironically being the person that are judging them for it by not wanting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're going, well,
Wrong
people
or
like
right.
me are going to look at that and think, yeah, that's you doing it, you know? But, that's neither here nor there. But yeah,
wrong
that's,
or right,
that's
I'm
true.
just saying, it is the case that
In a lot of
people
cases,
see it that way.
In
Yeah,
a lot of
that's true.
cases, it's not even the employer themselves; it's their customers that they're concerned about. Because if I went to New York City and I'm sitting down, or even Chicago, or any major, even Des Moines, and I go to a fine dining restaurant, and the waiter comes to the table and they've got a 12-inch mohawk and a bunch of piercings, and their hands are tattooed with "fuck the world" and "I hate God" and all this stuff, I'm not gonna feel like I'm in a professional environment. It's all about perceptions, and perception can dictate what the person's experience is in that environment. If you're working in the service industry, and it will perceive that perception can go on to even how good the food tastes. Mm-hmm. They've proven this time and time again. Of if you bring something out on a plate and it's piled 20 feet high and there's only like 2 ounces of meat there, people think it tastes great just by the perception of how it looks and how it's presented. And when employers are looking at things, even in the service industry, because everybody seems to think that's the fallback, unless you plan on washing dishes for the rest of your life and being a line cook, which is 2 terrible jobs to have for a long period of time, in my opinion. Some people love it. Great for you. You're probably not going to want to have a bunch of visual triggers.
Yeah, it's true. And that doesn't mean that it's right. That doesn't mean that you should be judged because you chose to get a tattoo on the back of your hand. You should be able to get a tattoo on the back of your hand, and no one you shouldn't have to miss out on a job.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid. But reality's fucking reality.
It's just about
and that's just the way it is.
Aware of those perceptions.
And, so, and even though it is way more common now to see a 20-year-old with full sleeves than it was 20 years ago, it's still there. Mm-hmm. People are still biased, and people, and it's not necessarily wrong, because if someone owns a company and say they are trying to get money from a certain class of people, then they have to choose the people that represent their company to attract those types of people.
That's okay.
Yeah. So and because
you can't be upset if you don't fit that
that
criteria.
That boss, that owner of that company, has every right to hire or fire whoever, because his job is to make sure that company is successful. And if he thinks hiring the person with the 6-foot pink mohawk with "fuck the world" on their hands doesn't quite fit their business plan, well, you can't hate that guy,
No.
Yeah, and you should have every right to grow that mohawk and do whatever you want to yourself, but just realize...
So you shouldn't be angry when that guy doesn't want to
Right,
hire
just,
you are
realize
entitled
that...
to a job.
Yeah, there's, people want a certain type of person for certain types of jobs, and by making yourself look or present yourself as a certain type of person, you might not fit that job anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a tattoo.
Yeah.
So,
We don't like to...
maybe wait, or maybe you get it somewhere else, It's all to the individual, of course, but it is shocking how many young kids are getting so heavily tattooed.
And see, with me, and it seems it's slowly starting to go out of vogue, was all these parents were letting their kids stretch their ears at 14, 15 years old, with this idea that, by the time they get out of college, they'll be out of that phase and they'll take that out. The thing is that if you get over a certain gauge, most people, if you get to the point where you're past 2 gauge and you start stretching into 0 and then into the millimeter sizes and inch sizes, that's permanent. You got to go see somebody. You got to have it surgically cut out. and you got to have it stitched up. It is plastic surgery, and it's going to cost about $5,000. If you take the jewelry out, you're going to have these lobes hanging at the bottom of your ear, or if you didn't do it correctly, they're going to look like inflamed cat buttholes.
Yeah.
So you're not going to look professional, is what I'm getting at.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Bumpy
That's why it's so
ridges.
funny. Because that's perfect description.
Yeah, and cats are always happy to show you.
And
Here you go, here it is.
Yeah,
Here it is,
they're
everybody.
very happy. Hey,
Here you
if my
go.
asshole was that perfect and pink, I'd probably show mine off too. I don't think it looks that pretty.
So I'm not saying
I don't
don't let your kids do that if you think they're responsible and they're going to do that, but do understand it's going to affect the future.
Yeah. Man, we
That's
sound
simple.
old, don't we?
I'm not even that old, and it still is the case.
Oh,
So,
cool. All right. So even though I'm old, it's not necessarily an old man idea.
Yeah.
It still can affect you. And just because most of your friends went and got the back of their hands tattooed, that doesn't
And that
mean...
goes back to peer pressure.
Right, and the group think and the kind, but stepping back and making sure you are doing what you want with your body, not what anybody else is
And
thinking.
regardless
is
of
right.
what's fashionable today, it's going to be out of fashion in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
To a degree,
Rotate.
when it
Things
comes to
change.
mainstream stuff. And I always tell people, it's like the hippest people in the room are usually the first to leave whatever they're doing. They're the first rats off the ship, every single time. The hippest person you know is going to do something that they think is hip for the shortest amount of time because they have to get out of it before it's no longer hip.
Right.
So it's like this whole jump frog thing, or leapfrog. Yeah, so they're always the first rats off the ship.
I don't hang out with hip people then.
I was a hipster for long before I knew.
You're still a hipster.
Yeah, I can't help it. It's just like, like all the stuff I was into when I was a teenager is now the hipsters are considered hip.
Yeah, and that's they're fucking like taking my childhood.
Yeah, and I got yelled at or not yelled at, but I got made fun of for wearing my grandpa's clothes and dressing like my grandpa and all this other stuff
Right.
because I wasn't hip and wearing that cool 80s fashion.
Hey man, Hypercolor was the fucking bomb.
So yeah, it's like I go in and out of style. It's just the way life is. And the same thing about I'm sure tattooing and piercing. And I watched it happen. This one comes into vogue for a little while, then everybody wants this done and that done. The other thing I want to cover before we wrap this up is intoxication of any way, shape, or form. Your decision process is not good. If they're an ethical artist, they are going to refuse to do it. I had to do this last night. A lady walked in asking for a piercing that she didn't even know the name of. She was teetering the whole time, and she was very upset with me because I refused to do it, and was immediately in the lobby on the cell phone trying to call around to find somewhere else to get it done. We don't do you when you're drunk because your decision process is terrible. You can't make choices that are clear. You can't communicate with us. Anything we tell you about aftercare, you will not remember or retain in any way, shape, or form. You're going to bleed more. Your anxiety, nervousness, and other emotions are heightened by what you're intoxicated by. You're probably not going to sit still. You're more prone to passing out. And you talk with your hands, so you're not going to sit still. And
It's illegal.
You're going to bleed more. And legally, we're not allowed, or tattoo artists, you're not supposed to do anybody that's intoxicated.
No, I legally cannot. We can't tattoo you if
Crazy
you are
enough,
impaired.
that's the last reason too.
Yeah, even if you're mentally just physically, mentally impaired, we're not allowed to because the state feels that you cannot make a clear-headed, informed decision. So if you're drunk or you're on some other kind of mind-altering substance, we can't do it.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't go out and plan on getting tattooed and get drunk or pierced and get drunk beforehand because it's going to make the experience much worse than it should be.
Yeah, you won't be able
You're going to agitate your artist to no end.
And that's so easy to do. You don't need anything to help.
Oh man, it is frustrating because I've had some people that get past the they're just those people that they don't look drunk. And then I've gone through the whole process, and then it starts bleeding profusely, and then I look at them, and suddenly their whole demeanor's gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, Then they don't hear anything I say, and they're the people that they don't call until there's something terribly wrong with it. They don't take care of it.
Just a big bundle of trouble.
That one just stopped again.
Well, then you're going to have to cut the camera, too.
Well, I think we've beaten that one. I think we got, about 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Give us a thumbs up.
Subscribe or die.
Buy coffee.
Death before decaf. Do that. Bye.
Later, guys.